And should I turn my camera off? Can they hear me?
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 14th episode of the PureJoy Podcast. I'm your host, M, and this is a bi-weekly exploration into what brings people joy. It's the same thing, right? We are here every episode to explore new guests' joy and figure out why that brings them joy and sort of dive into that a little bit and hope to find a little bit of joy in our own lives through that, right? And this episode is no different. Today, I have on a guest I've been looking forward to quite a long time. One of probably, I think I've said this a few times, but it's definitely my longest standing friend of my life. I think it's like the longest connection I've had in my life outside of my family, I think. And it is just, he's an important friend to me. So we're going to switch over there and introduce my friend Luke Davis. Let me do that here. I think. Let's see if it all works. I should have checked this screen, but I didn't. Nope, not that one. This one. Yeah, now we're over here, and I just do that. Nope. There we go. Hi, Luke. How's it going?
I am great. How are you doing?
Doing awesome today. It's great to have you on. Why don't you introduce yourself a little bit to us here at the on the podcast?
Yeah, no, I'm super excited to be here. That's I definitely um yeah, have been looking forward to the opportunity to be on here for a bit. So but yeah, no, so my name is Luke. I am I guess a barber shopper is what the term would be. But I mean, of course there's a lot more to it than that, but um yeah, no, so I guess I kind of the thing that I've done for the I guess over half of my life at this point, which is super wild to think of.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
I do barbershop quartet music, so like singing in four-part harmony, and so that's kind of what I do. But outside of that, yeah, I guess I'm 27 years old at this point, living in Nashville, Tennessee, just a little bit southeast of there. I work at the Barbershop Harmony Society, which is like the headquarters of barbershop in the world. So that's pretty cool.
Moved your way out from
Um,
singing in barbershop to working at the headquarters of barbershop.
it's pretty wild. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, it has been a wild journey. But so yeah, I live out here with my fiance Crystal, and we've got a nice little pup that's name is Willow. She's super cute, and then we've got a cat Oswald. He's okay, but
He's okay
no, he's
comparatively.
great. He's great. But yeah, no, that's kind of me.
Yeah,
Yeah, I moved out here from O'Fallon, Missouri. So
yeah. So you've lived all up and down sort of the middle of the country.
yeah, yeah. We've moved a couple times now. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we like to start each of these episodes off with something that has brought you joy today. You know, maybe you didn't notice it then, but like looking back on it now, where's somewhere today where you've found a little bit of joy? And feel free
That's
to take your time. Pauses are totally fine.
yeah.
If you ever have to think, you know.
Right. No, that's good. Good to hear. Uh, well, I'll tell you. I am working on a song for a project that I'll be doing real soon here. So there's two songs that I'm working on, and yeah, I'm trying to get them memorized and
Hmm.
like like notes and pitches like perfect, in order to be good, I guess, at it.
Yeah.
And so I think today I definitely hit some points where like I was able to get through like two lines without looking at the music, and I was like, okay, I can do this. I can
I'm
actually
getting
learn
there.
music.
Yeah.
Because yeah, no, I think you go back and forth on the spectrum of like I am having a really hard time. Is this really what I'm here for? And then there's like, yeah, I learned a couple notes. And so
Yeah.
I had one of those moments, I would say.
Like a
Uh,
progression, like seeing the progression moment.
yes,
Kind of
yeah. Well,
struggling with a
and
barrier and then overcoming it.
right. So yeah, no, I think I had a couple moments like that when I was working earlier that just yeah
It
remind me why I do this.
Yeah, yeah, it felt really good.
So
I There's a lot I feel like to be joyful with this time around. I think I mean, I like a really like a really quick one is my mom came over to drop off some stuff to like prepare for Thanksgiving because she's coming by for Thanksgiving, and we went out and had like lunch, and it was just really nice. We don't often get the chance to go out, just like me and her, and do stuff because there's friends around, there's the partner is there. It's just
right.
we're with family. It's been a long time since just been me and her, and that was very nice. It was very just like a good time. We had some tacos and had a really good time. But I think where I've spent my most focus this week is on Pokemon Scarlet. That's definitely my biggest joy of the week.
Ooh.
It's absolutely incredible. A game changer in the Pokemon industry.
Yeah, yeah. No, I played Pokemon Legends Arceus, and so I love that they kind of took that and kind of adapted it into the more normal format. I think I like the Legends Arceus format more myself,
Yeah, really.
but
The thing I was missing, I felt like in Arceus, it felt like it when they released it and how they released it. Pokemon doesn't often do the February releases, so usually they do the end of the year. Like this Scarlet is their traditional release of the year. It to me, Arceus felt like we have all this stuff coming for Scarlet, and we need to both test it and test it in the market. And so we like, here's Arceus. It's a standalone
Hmm.
thing. You get some new mechanics. It helped them test for Scarlet. Arceus felt more complete, but Scarlet is just all the things I felt like were missing kind of from Arceus. Scarlet has in some form or fashion. It's not perfect, but I
Interesting.
love it. I think that it's a good stepping stone for hopefully what is to come in the series. Like it brought a kind of staling series to both Arceus and Scarlet, I think, have revitalized Pokemon as a series, and I'm very excited to keep going. Um,
Yeah, yeah. No, that's huge. I haven't gotten to play it yet, but I had to look at the starters because I was like, it was like, what are they going to evolve into? Like I had to finally like, okay, what did they evolve into?
I'm
Which is
pumped.
interesting. It's
I'm
interesting,
pumped.
sort of like a masquerade sort of feel.
This generation, it's all like Spanish based, and they finally hit Pokemon 1000 in this generation. Um,
Good lord, good lord.
yeah, it's a
I was
very
there for the original
I was there for
151.
number 1.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, that's where I've found a lot of joy this week. Like anytime I'm not working or doing stuff for work, I'm just like playing Scarlet. It's absolutely incredible. I love it so much.
Jeez.
I love it so much. Yeah. But that aside, our little joy of the day, what in life brings you pure joy?
Yeah, yeah. No, so yeah, I had to think on this a little bit because I think, yeah, of course, like 8 to 5 every single day I do barbershop work,
Yeah.
and every 2 weekends or so I'm out of town, doing barbershop work or something, and so like I feel like that is such like a big part of my life,
Yeah.
but um I guess just saying like barbershop brings me joy, feels uh I guess almost like very wide, like there's so much, I guess, to barbershop that it's like what part of that makes me do barbershop?
Yeah.
Um because yeah, I mean it's a culture, it's the people, it's the music, yeah, it's a very wide thing, but I think um there is just this feeling when you're singing with like three other people, uh and you tune a chord just right, that like that moment is wild, it is just like unreal, like because there's like your body is vibrating at a certain frequency and it's like
Mhm.
lining up with and again, not to get like on a metaphysical level, like I mean very seriously, like
I mean, you
your
are
body's vibrating.
in the action of singing, even in just like this group of 4 or solo, you are creating a frequency. Even if we leave like
Exactly.
where our bodies are, uh, in that sort of metaphysical sense, because we all have this vibration going on, and we are
Sure.
tuned to a frequency, and so there are
Absolutely.
even harmonizing on, I think at certain notes are more resonant with that frequency than even other notes. So like you'll feel it more deeply in your bones, or it'll like you feel it more deep down. Uh,
Yeah. Well, and I think part of it though is that when you are singing, you're like picking a certain frequency and you are singing it at a volume that does cause you like to physically shake,
mhm, mhm,
like, and so, if you're standing next to someone who is singing, you're experiencing that shake, and so when four people are doing it at specific frequencies, like scientifically,
mhm.
because music is very much a science, um, when you do it at just these right frequencies, I mean, it causes all of these extra frequencies above that we call overtones, um, but being a part of those, like it is a moment that, like I mean, it's hard to explain what that's like, but I mean, it's like, I guess, being at a live show and someone does that sort of a thing. It's, you feel it a little bit, but like actually participating in it is, I think, like, I experienced that at a younger age, and then have just been chasing that,
Yeah.
like, do it again, please, let's do it, and so it's like any opportunity that I can find to sing with people, especially, people that know how to do it right, to do it at a high level. Um, so I think that, that whole culture, of course, brings joy with it, but I think just that, that feeling is, I think, ultimately what brings all of us in that culture together.
Interesting. Interesting. I think, I mean, overall, for a scope of like an episode, I think we can dive into all of these things. I like the
Sure.
overall, like, sort of focal point though. Like, I like that you've broken this down. It seems like you've put a good amount of thought into it. That it is more than about just singing. Like, you found the piece
Sure.
in that you're after, and that is very refreshing. Like, that's fantastic. You've done a lot of that like work. You know why you're doing it. So like, in those moments where maybe things are getting harder, or you're bogged down in, because you do work in the headquarters, there's paperwork involved rather than just singing all the time. And so
Oh yeah.
I think in those moments, maybe when you're bogged down, it's easier to keep going, because you have like a deep reason why you're doing this. And it's I think minute when it comes to like the overall like lifestyle of living in this and doing it right. You don't always get the opportunity to create harmony. You don't always get the moment to feel that resonance. Um, but
Right.
I think it's easy to keep going and easy to keep coming back to it, because you know that feeling, and by now you've experienced it a countless number of times. So you like know that feeling. I like vaguely remember
Yeah.
that feeling, and there's been times like over the years where we've sang together, or I've joined in at like some of your barbershop group rehearsals and things like that, where I was able to feel it and like remind myself of it. Or I even think that
Yeah.
there's like certain moments when singing in a car where you're like doing harmonies and stuff. I think the car is a
Yes.
great place for it, because the like the way it bounces and stays in there with you helps like increase that. So you can like hit those harmonies
Dude.
right there in a car.
100%, 100%. One of, I mean, yeah, I guess one of the things that kind of tides me over until, until I'm able to sing with real people is, yeah, like, you have the way that you learn music is through these learning tracks, right? Where it's, every part of a quartet's recorded individually, and then like your part will be on one side and the other three are on, on the other side. That way you can hear the part that you're learning, and then eventually you
Interesting.
remove your part, and then you're singing with the other three parts, which is super fun. What Once you learn this, like, it's just so cool because they're perfect. You just have to get to their level. So
Mhm.
it's kind of a challenge. But what I have found, in the last year, I would say, that is really, like, for me, helped me like improve and just really enjoy it, is, so I typically sing lead or tenor in a quartet, so the upper two parts,
Mhm.
but soloing out the bass part on its own and just singing against it, and trying to lock like every single chord perfectly, like when you're in the car just driving down the highway, just slamming chords, like it, yeah, no, the car is the place to do it,
Do you think the
100%.
bass is the sort of like center for creating that resonance in those things? If you're just kind of defaulting to basically solo bass, it feels like you're trying to strip it down to the most minimal parts to create that. Maybe what do you think you're maybe what's going on with the process in
Yeah.
stripping it down to just bass?
So I think, yeah, it's like a sound pyramid, right? like the loudest part, is the bass, lead or baritone, whoever's there, like it builds up to the kind of the tenor on top. And the bass is also, of course, like the root of all of the chords, so they kind of define what the chord is.
Okay.
The lead is more like the melody, and so I think part of it is that the the bass is so loud. It's supposed to be loud, and I think when you imagine tuning of a chord, like it's basically like you're stacking on top of that, and
Okay.
so having that foundation, to stack on top of, because ultimately, if anyone else is out of tune with the bass, they're probably wrong,
Okay.
so like, when I'm singing a quartet, the part that I'm listening for is the bass, and so is every other part. Because, yeah, if you're trying to tune with one person, the bass is the right one to tune with.
Okay. Okay. Do
It's
you
also like really, sorry.
No?
It's really interesting to, because each like note within a chord has like a different flavor. I guess is a way to think of it.
Yeah.
Like if you think of an octave, it's like just like a perfect lock. But if you think of like a ninth, or a seventh or something, like they feel like the vibration wise, they feel differently, like it is
Okay.
a different color, I guess. And so when you're just going with the bass, you can really identify those colors a lot better. Like, and like I don't know looking at it to know what note I'm on, but if I hear it with the bass, I'm like, oh, okay,
This is
so
what it's
I'm the
supposed to feel
ninth of
like.
that chord.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. That
Yeah.
makes sense. That makes sense. So you've done a little bit of I don't know. That's very intriguing. Do you think that you're able to like find the differences between those, like whenever you feel that resonance, you're like, that is the ninth, that is a seventh? Or is it like, I
Um.
know that I'm supposed to be pushing for a ninth here and this is how I'll do it?
What do you mean? Like, do you mean like
You said that it helps you to know, and they feel different, right? Like the resonance of doing a seventh feels different than resonance of doing a ninth.
Yep.
Um do I don't know. I guess I'm curious if you do you know go into this note knowing it's supposed to be a ninth and where you're supposed to be, or do you, as you're singing through, you feel that and you're like, all right, now this is where this is a ninth. I found that here, and so when I get to this note, I have to be at that point.
So no,
Maybe it's a
that's
little
a
of both
really good question.
actually.
No, that makes sense. That makes sense. That's a really good question. I think so. Part of it is, you learn your part, right?
Yeah.
So I know mine's like ba, 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 something like that. So like you learn the words, you learn the notes, and then you really start applying it. Now, some people are much smarter than I am, and can look at the notes on sheet music and quickly say, I am the fifth, I am,
Okay.
an octave. They can quickly do that. I cannot.
Okay.
I think I'm getting better at that, but um I learn my part, and then eventually I'm singing with the bass. I know kind of how it should fit, um and then I can say, like, okay, so I am the ninth of that chord, and that matters because, especially, and again, this is like high level barbershop, but you have to know what part of the chord you are, because depending on how important you are in that chord, you have to change your volume levels. So like if you're the root of the chord, you're loud. If you're locking a fifth with that, you're also, actually, I don't know well enough, but I think normal to sound, I guess. But then, yeah, if you're doing like a nine, or you're the third or something, like you're quieter, so
More
for
like
like
low end
high level
heavy.
quartets, right? Yeah, exactly. But like for the groups that really are top level singers, they know that for every single chord of the song that they're singing. whether to be loud, whether to be soft, what number of the chord. It's it is uh it is very much, I would say, like nerd Olympics for singing, because it is such like a mental game, as well as singing.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's wild.
Um, do you, let's see. I'm very interested in this, like, chasing this idea of like chasing harmony and chasing resonance that it seems like your path is kind of evolving from a step back from maybe the barbershop aspect of that. Do you think that there's other places in your life where you find aspects of like this harmony or this resonance? It probably won't be the same feeling as like the bone vibrations that you get from the perfect
Sure.
chord, right?
Sure.
But are there places where you find harmony existing, or maybe this helping like create that harmony in your life?
Um, yeah, no, it's hard because I feel like so much, like, I guess distinguishing what is and isn't, barbershop, is, I guess, hard because I feel like even sometimes singing three parts still feels like, barbershop. And that's why I feel like, yeah, ultimately that harmony is exactly why I was able to kind of slim it down to that. Because, yeah, if it's three part and we're singing good chords, I don't care whether you'd call that barbershop. That's
Sure.
what I love doing. That's,
Yeah.
that's what brings me joy. Um, but yeah, I mean, some other places would be like my brother and sister and I doing three-part harmony stuff, back, you know uh,
Singing with
where
the
all my
family.
family is in St. Paul,
Hmm.
or um, I think that, I can also, because I have, you know, been able to experience that, I can get joy from seeing other people do it, in live performances,
Hmm.
and I think that comes as a blessing and a curse, because you can also hear more when it's not, um, but it's also just great because I think that it's not important that things are perfect, and that, I am sure, especially in say a duet, or something like that, that there are moments in that song where
Hmm.
they do lock things just right, and so that's, I think it's a chase, because it's, um, sure, if I'm singing in a quartet that sings every chord right, then that whole song was great. But if we didn't, there are parts of that, where it's just so good,
Hmm.
where it's just so enjoyable. Um, but otherwise, I mean, so much of everything revolves around my barbershop in my life. So it's really hard to find,
Oh yeah, yeah.
anything other than that I have that same sort of, uh, experience, I guess.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
you're experiencing it often. So it's like, is it, you know, it doesn't necessarily need to exist outside of like being in a singing moment or a harmonizing moment, because you actually are doing that quite often.
True. But well, and I guess like, it's, I guess, also worth saying that I sing in a chorus, where, um like, while it's not a quartet, it's still that, I mean, at that point it's even louder and there's even more people,
Yeah.
um so, it's very just filling, I guess. But yeah,
Yeah.
so like it's still the same chords, it's still the same, feeling that you get, but you just get to share it with more people.
Do you think any of this has led to like balance in your life anywhere outside of singing? Outside of, I don't know, barbershop entirely?
Like, do
Like
you
in your
mean
home
that
life, in your relationships with like people that you have, not even necessarily like you've mentioned your fiance Crystal, but not even necessarily like with your love life, just like your relationships with people. Do you think that I don't know, the developing of this skill and this ear, or looking for this thought or feeling has led to, I don't know, I don't know, any other forms of balance or improvements in other aspects of your life.
Sure, 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 sure. Yeah. I think I guess balance, maybe not. It wouldn't be the best word. I would say that my life is very,
Work.
like because like all of the friends that I have made since I moved to Nashville have been through barbershop.
Mm,
They're not all here in Nashville, but I mean, literally, the people that aren't, yeah, like friends that I've kept up with, or uh my family back in St. Louis. Otherwise, everyone that I talk to is a barber shopper. Every like all of my Facebook friends are barber shoppers. Like it is a whole different culture
mhm.
that we all share. But I mean, from it, I have made friends all over the world at this point. Like it is wild. It is wild. Yeah, I've got friends in New Zealand and in Denmark and Sweden and the UK, and uh met someone from Germany that we've been keeping up. Yeah, I just had someone come in town from Holland, and so we um, brought some people from the chorus and got drinks. But yeah, like I gave them a tour at work, and
Yeah.
like it is wild, the amount of people, and they're all such good people too.
Yeah.
Um, like that has definitely been a very positive part of my life. But yeah, I
Yeah,
I
no,
mean, I think
that's I think that's a I mean that's a fantastic thing to bring out of it. Like, your focus on this and your dive into this has created created many personal relationships, it seems. It also seems like you could maybe categorize it as a small bubble from the outside, but like when you're looking at it and we're talking about it, it isn't like, I don't know, I know that you and I have even talked about it in the past, and you've kind of considered it that yourself. You're like, it's kind of a small bubble.
sure.
But like,
Yeah,
it is from the outside point of view, and you're like, oh, barbershop, because I couldn't necessarily point to another person in my life, here in Chicago, that I'm like, they do this. But I mean, as you've just mentioned, the bubble is worldwide at this point. You have, that those
we're
connections
planting
extend
roots in
across the.
Japan right now.
Okay.
Japan, we're working on. There's like two or three quartets there. Yeah, New Zealand, it took off. There's the, oh geez, Spanish Association of, Tonsorial Singers, I think is the name of that. That's Spats. Yeah, yeah, we're definitely working on the whole world. Yeah.
But that, I mean, that's fantastic, because I would, maybe before you move down to sort of engross yourself in this culture and this community, that your bubble may not have been that large. Not that you may have been comparing it at that time, but it's grown so very
Yeah.
much, which is, you know, fascinating. It's opened up, your horizons, chasing your joy of just trying to find this like resonance and this harmony, and being a part of it has led to like an overall, I would say, I mean, you're right, balance may not be the right word, but uh an
I think for
overall
other
harmony.
people, but I think, yeah, it's, yeah.
For other people, sure, but an
Yeah.
overall harmony, at least in your life, that like, there's a good through line. You have connections and made a community in it. Yeah, yeah. Is there anything, I think, let's see. We've talked about, I mean, your favorite, the favorite part is like why you keep doing it, right? Is this joy of chasing after this Piece of harmony. I'm trying to think of, yeah.
You're good. You're good.
Yeah, so talk to us a little bit about what other maybe aspects of doing this as a lifestyle brings you joy, besides just like chasing this sense of resonance.
Sure. Yeah. Well, no, one thing that that is really important, I guess, to the barbershop culture, that um I mean, is kind of why I guess is a part that I got a bit deeper dug into, uh, is the contests. There are giant contests, and that's why everyone comes together. Is for these, the chorus competitions and the quartet contests. And so yeah, like all of these quartets in an area will come together and they'll compete for the district championship. They'll become the district champion quartet, which there's a long history of district champion quartets. And like, so you're fighting almost, I mean, sure, people want to be recognized as good, but you're competing to try and become a part of that history,
To become
where
historically good.
exactly. Because
Yeah.
once you become a district champion quartet, you get to sing on the show every year from then on. Like
Wait,
they do a district champions
how long is the
show.
show? It's got to be
It's
so
usually like
long.
an hour and a half. You have to think some of these quartets have broke up.
Okay, okay,
You know,
okay. They're all
so like
okay. That makes
maybe you have
sense.
10.
Not every single quartet that has one comes and sings.
They have the opportunity,
Yeah, that makes okay. Yeah.
so it's getting a quartet that you can win the contest, and the personalities work well enough together that you can stay together, you know right? There's a whole lot
I
to
mean,
it.
that's the hardest part, I think, is I mean, as we were talking about earlier, like a long form relationship. Not only are you keeping up contact and like a regular working relationship going with one person, but with four
Yeah,
people, I can imagine that many would fall apart. I could imagine that maybe some come together for just the competition even.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's competition quartets, there's show quartets. Uh, there are some drinking quartets that sing as well. Um,
What does that just mean, that they go out drinking and singing, or like what is a drinking quartet?
I mean, it's just like for people that they just want to hang out, drink and sing.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. Let's get some
Like
beers
it's
and sing at Luke's house tonight.
exactly. They
Okay.
don't have to perform for anyone.
Sure. Okay, that makes
They're just
sense.
there to have fun doing it.
Mhm.
So there's so many ways that people do it. Some people don't sing in quartets; they only sing in choruses. But uh, and so yeah, there's so many reasons that people do it. And for some, that district championship and becoming a part of the history is the thing.
Yeah.
But if you get above a certain score, which again, all of these contests are score based, uh, then then you get to compete at the international competition wherever it is that year. And so there's usually like maybe 50 quartets that qualify and are able to compete at that level. And so for some people, that ultimate goal is becoming the international quartet champion, which, yeah, is like you go down in way history. Like, I mean, there's some people that could literally tell you every single quartet that's ever won, like in order. There's like a video well, I guess he's a friend of mine now, but he was like 12 at the time. And like literally the credits of this movie that they did about barbershop um, the credits are rolling and it's just him reading like from memory going through all of the champions. Like it's pretty huge if you become an international champion. Like whether the rest of the world knows about it you are like
You're the top. I mean, you're the top of
you
the
are the most famous people in the entire society,
Mhm.
you know.
Mhm.
And anyone who's ever won, is like a celebrity in the barbershop world, you know.
Wow, okay.
They're called barber celebrities.
Oh, really? There's
Yeah.
the actual title for them.
I mean, I wouldn't say
Wh-
that's like,
the
but
colloquial term for them.
that's what we call them on the street.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's what we call
yeah.
them on the street. I wouldn't dare call them to their face, but when I'm on the street only. No, I like that. I like that. Have you so this is like another reason you enjoy doing this is like going to the competitions. Is it just for like the sort of communal aspect of it, or are you like a big fan of like competing? Are you a big fan of like going for the win and like pushing really hard for it?
Um, that's a really good question. That's hard. That's hard because I feel like I really want to sing on the international stage at one point.
Okay,
Uh,
okay, so like a goal, sing on the international stage.
I really want to at some point,
Does that mean that you are in the competition? Is that what you're talking about? Like
in the
competing
competition. Yeah,
internationally? Okay, okay.
yeah. So, yeah, no, I guess like it's a really good question.
Is that I mean,
Because I
do you want to compete in that to like compete at the highest level, or do you want to compete in that to be in like a communal space with everyone else on the highest level? Like is it to be a community, or is it to test your metal against the top?
I think it's self improvement. I
Okay.
think if you are in a quartet that is able to score, again, it's 0 to 100. If you're in a quartet that's able to score like an 80,
Mhm.
that is a good way to kind of validate where you are personally.
Okay.
Like how good am I? Am I and of course I think a score for a quartet you know is not a direct reflection on yourself. You could be a 98 and sing with 350s, and you're going to score a
You
55.
won't sound like a 98, right?
Right,
Right.
so like, but so I think it's just improving, and yeah, once after you're done competing, you get feedback from the judges,
Mhm.
because barbershop literally has some of the best judges, like super highly trained. You have to go through 3 years of training, and then you're constantly reviewed. Um, but once you've done competed, once
Once you're
once you've
done
done compete,
competed,
um, once you have come off the stage, completed the contest is over, you get to get evaluations from the judges in person, and all of the judges are trained to be coaches for barbershop quartets. And so they're able to say, this is why I scored you the score. Here are ways that each of you individually could improve, for this song, as well as each individual, just as
mm,
better singers. Uh, and so you hear that, you try and correct those things and see if you can score better the next time,
yeah, sort of
and then
just like a top
eventually,
level analysis of where you're at
yeah.
is what you kind of receive by being able to compete at this level as well.
Yeah, yeah. And so then you're able to say, did I improve on those things? And then it's like, whoa, we just won a contest. Okay, cool.
Mhm. Mhm.
So uh it's hard because I really do want to win the contest though. So I guess there's a part of me that really is wanting to win, but the other one, I think the other part of me just wants to improve.
Competing to
Um
improve. I mean,
right.
I think when presented with a competition that we might both be slightly competitive, like presented with all right, go, there's the finish line. get there first, you're like, okay, I'll get there first, because it's what I'm doing. And so like when you're in that atmosphere, it's like I'm pushing to do this. But it's great that like you're not, you're not there to win. Winning is great. You're not,
Right.
if you win, or, if you're like, I might have a go at it, that's fantastic. But it's not necessarily that, you don't go to win. Winning is an awesome side effect. And when you're there, you're caught up into it. But it sounds like you go to improve and to like be surrounded by all of that.
Yeah, and
Um,
I think sorry to
no,
interrupt there,
no.
but I think one thing just of note is just that I've never been in a quartet that we actually expected to win,
Mm,
or thought we had a chance at winning.
okay.
I've been in uh, a quartet that's gotten two third places, and that was higher than we thought we were going to get. You know,
Okay.
but like ultimately, yeah, we have I've only gone into contests for quartets and only thought, we're not going to win, so there really isn't any pressure on doing it perfectly. It's just let's sing it, let's have fun, let's tell the story, and hopefully the audience, stays present and enjoys that story. You know,
Hmm.
so yeah, I think for that reason, competition hasn't been as important a part. But if I were to be singing in a quartet that was like actually had a chance at getting first in the contest, I think I would really enjoy the contest.
Yeah, yeah, and you start
Yeah,
enjoying it more as it's going. Of
yeah,
course, of course. That makes a lot of sense. What other aspects of this society do you like partake in? What kind of I don't know, you're in a role, I feel like, that is able to help the society at a larger, as a whole, rather than
sure.
I don't, just being a member. Is there any way that this kind of bolsters that joy at all, in being able to sing, maybe being a part of the headquarters and doing the business behind it all too?
Yeah, yeah. Yes, I think I have learned so much from being on staff that has uh, made all of the other parts better. It made me better at those other parts just for understanding it, but I mean, also I'm able to meet even more people that way.
Mhm.
And so when I go to these events, I know a lot more people because I helped Bill renew his membership, and I helped Mary find history, on her chapter, or
Mhm.
something like that. That I've talked to these people, and so I know them. When I think it's funny because I'll go to these events, and often I talk to people on the phone. Um, and so, I don't know what they look like, but then they'll say, I'm the one who accidentally bought 30 registrations. And I'm like, oh, that's you. I remember that.
Your
That
30
was such a
registration
mess.
bill, I understand.
Like,
That was such a
yeah,
mess.
um, but I think also one of the coolest things is actually working at the headquarters. Like the building itself. Harmony Hall is what it's called. um you walk in the front door. I mean, you were there,
Yeah, I
2
did
weeks ago or
come
three
by
weeks
for a
ago or
visit,
so.
yeah.
You walk in the front door, you have like legitimate like uniforms that the champion quartets wore,
Mhm.
like the just right there. Um, you have, I mean, just a wall of the champions, and you can see all of the history when you walk in the building. Um, and then if you go into the basement, there is like records on literally anything. There's a copy of every dissertation that's been written on the barbershop style. You have pictures from every event. Okay, mostly
From
any
mostly every
event,
event, which is
that
still
is that has ever
surprising.
happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it. I mean, it's the headquarters of operations, but it's a headquarters of all of the historical items,
For the world of barbershop.
for the world of barbershop. And so, like, I can literally find out anything that I want,
Yeah,
like
visiting it felt very this basement felt very museum-like. It felt like what I had imagined the basement of a museum to feel like. Like
yeah,
not even, not everything's not in cases. Everything is stored well. Everything is in a proper box, or like in the plastic it needs to be in, but it's not like it's cases with plaques. It's we're talking like storage. It's like
right.
boxes of sheet music, and sometimes it's file cabinets, and then it's boxes next to the file cabinets because we ran out of file cabinet space because we've been doing it for the whole world for so long.
Yeah.
Have they ever moved, or has this always been the location?
So so I guess it moved around a couple times, but the longest place that it was before this place here uh, was Kenosha, Wisconsin.
Oh,
I think that was when they originally called it Harmony Hall,
okay.
but it was a lakefront mansion that all of the staff just that is where they worked. Somehow they bought a mansion,
Why'd you move here? Why'd
Um,
we move here?
apparently they just couldn't use the space
Afford the mansion
properly, or
anymore.
like it just didn't work for like operations.
That makes sense.
um so they moved around a couple times and then officially moved here in 2007,
A
um
mansion. No
in,
way.
in
You
Nashville.
gotta make
But
that
yeah,
work.
literally a mansion. Like it just sold maybe 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Like it was on sale, and so they had a whole bunch of pictures from it, and people were like, "That's where I sang tags. That's where I
Mhm.
did this."
Mhm.
There's videos from in there. It's wild, but yeah, it's a big mansion in Kenosha,
That's really
Wisconsin.
cool. That's really cool. But yeah, so it's nice, I guess, for you to be working here, because it not only are you surrounded by people who do the craft and who are as passionate about not just like working a job, but like being enveloped in this like musical society, as you are, and you're bathed into history. Like wherever
Yeah,
you look, there's a plaque or a suit or a statue or a like a old piece of music that you can't probably just go out and find somewhere. That is probably one
right.
of my favorite bits, is like walking through the music library is amazing, because it's not just like a printed sheet of music. It's like the printed sheet of music that you print your sheets of music from. That's like
Right.
why it's so wild to me. It's like anytime you've been in a choir class, it's probably printed from a copy from here if they need it. If it's not in their library
Yeah.
already, right? Like if they're looking for something new, it's like here's where you would
Yeah, it
reach
is
out
the
to.
the publishing company. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
just very interesting being, I think, surrounded by all that history.
Well, and
Inspires
I
you
think,
to keep going.
just on the history point, like part of my job, so I'm currently the customer service manager, but before that I was just customer service representative. Uh, Part of my job is answering the questions that come into the Barbershop Harmony Society. No matter what that question is, you
Hmm.
have to try and figure out the answer. And so there's a whole lot of just, um, I think I was a member in 1970. Can you look in that chapter's records and prove it? And so then I have to go into the chapter records and I'll find like notes from the president of that time, that like, well, it's
They
just
weren't
you find
allowed
so
in.
much.
Sorry, I
Yeah,
saw it.
like,
They wrote that you weren't in there.
yeah, there's just so many random things that you pick up from other people asking questions, that I wouldn't have even thought to think of
Hmm.
that historical bit. But now that I have to answer you, I can figure that out.
Hmm.
So it's cool. It's cool.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think in a lot of cases do you get to be surrounded by all of the history of the thing you're doing. Like,
Right.
besides working in a museum, I think would be one of the only other examples I could think of that, because even like places that have headquarters, I don't think generally keep like all of their like historical artifacts in the basement at their headquarters. They might keep
Right.
them, in a display area some elsewhere. Um, but it's interesting to be, you are a customer service manager, but like it I think besides the fact that you answer the phones, you're just like, that doesn't matter because you're surrounded by everything. you're surrounded by the history, and it's not necessarily like just answering a phone, but you're also getting a new question and like learning a new thing to look into. Has
Yeah.
that inspired you to like do research on other parts of it outside of like answering questions for them? Has that inspired you to like go deeper and like, I don't know. You have access to so much down there in the basement. Have you like listened to any of the like really old recordings, or like checked out any
Yeah.
of that really
Yeah.
old, like, I don't know, merch or knickknacks or the things that people made?
Yeah, no, I mean some of the cool things is just like we have oh geez, before records, uh they were recorded on I guess songs were recorded on wax cylinders. And so the society has an archive of wax cylinders. Yeah, so it rotates and it's like the needles on the outside
Oh
while it goes
yeah.
around, right?
Yeah. Okay.
And so, yeah, so we have some of those, of some of the first recordings of barbershop that ever was
That
recorded,
exists.
like
Yeah.
1900, 1908. So we have spent some time going through those just in off time. But I think part of it is just that, I being on staff and having access to all of this, I'm able to find like guides or videos from past classes and
Mm.
stuff for nearly any topic,
Totally
like,
different teachers than you could find now, and approaches
right,
to it.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, like a friend of mine is the director of education for the society on staff. And so he runs Harmony University, which is an every year um, education event for barbershop. Um, and so, yeah, like, I'm able to um, access those archives, you know, I guess if they've been recorded in the last couple years,
Right.
some of the older ones are still um, on cassettes or something like that, that it's not necessarily viewable at this point, but if there's something that I really need to learn to for myself or to help someone, I'm able to find a way to do that.
Hear it from the
But
source.
yeah, like I'm on the music team, so I guess I'm the vice president of music and performance of the Music City Chorus,
Mm.
which is wild in itself.
Mhm.
That's the current international champion chorus in the world, and I
Okay.
get to be a part of it and
Yeah.
help in that way. But like there's guides on how to do that position, and so um, whereas I maybe would have had to pay like $3 or $5 if I didn't work there, I work there, so
Save the
I
3 to
can read
5
that,
bucks. Let's go.
saved me $3, but um, but I guess being on staff, know that guide exists, and I'm able to look into that, and um, but I would say one thing just outside of staff, that has really kept me connected, and really I think was kind of what um, got me to a level that I would have even been acceptable to be on staff,
Mm.
of I guess having that background, um, is the Harmony Brigade movement, that I've gotten to do a lot of deeper research since I've been on staff, and it, I guess, for a getting those records, it gives me validity to ask those questions, of people
Yeah.
like, I'm on staff, I'm just trying to figure out, what the history of this is,
Mhm.
which they're great people and they'd share it if you asked, but it makes me feel more valid in asking questions. Um, but the Harmony Brigade movement is like these events that go on across America and in Europe, where I guess if I had to compare it to something, I would compare it to, um, how like Fortnite, you queue up, uh, you have, maybe it's you and three friends, and you do a squad,
Mhm.
or if there's only two of you, you do a duo, and you play that way. But for quartets, you have to have four people, and so if it's, say, Battlefield, you get squatted up with four people. You have to be in a squad. You have to be in a four-person quartet. And so with harmony brigades, you go as an individual and you get randomly put into quartets like you would when you're queuing up for like
Mm-hmm.
Battlefield,
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so yeah, you get to have a contest, you compete for the top 10 and then the finals, uh, everyone comes to these events with 8 or 10 songs that you can sing in a quartet, uh, and then yeah, you get randomly matched with other people and you get a random song out of the 8 to 10 that you came prepared on, and then it's a competition that way,
Mm.
where you know you might not be able to attend a weekly chorus or quartet rehearsal, but you can go for a single weekend and compete with highly qualified people, that are personally invited, and you can have that experience whether or not you have the organization around you to create a quartet or chorus,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
uh, and so I've been doing that, the random, it's extreme quartetting is what it's called, the Association of Extreme
Of
Quartetting
extreme
Harmony Brigades
quartetting.
or something. Yeah, that's what it is. But I started doing that in 2015 or 2016,
Mm-hmm.
and you find these people that you sing well with, that your voices just happen to work. And there's people that it works and some people it doesn't. You can get
Yeah.
along as much as you want as individuals. But if your voices don't work together, they just, I mean, with some work they could. So don't give up, I
Well,
guess,
sure,
if you're
sure.
really wanting to sing this. But there's some people that it just naturally
And
locks
I mean,
into.
in the example of a brigade, like if it doesn't work, there's 40 other people who you could
20, yeah,
20 other
30,
people,
for
whatever
any
that
one part,
yeah, that you could switch out, and maybe find that and maybe that just works better because we're here for a weekend. We're not while these are great connections to make overall and we could try to sing again together later. We don't need to beat ourselves up right now, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing is you go to these, sure, there's a contest, but the rest of the time you're just singing with all these other people. Uh, and you find those that just, you're like, okay, we don't really work that well, but that's okay.
Mhm.
We're still enjoying it. But then you get a quartet of people that you lock with all of them and they lock with each other, and that is when you have whole songs of those moments where you're just like, oh, this is so good, this is why I'm here,
That's the resonance
um
for the whole song.
like it, because it is just, and it's, you end the song, you're like, oh, that was good, that was so good,
Mhm.
like who cares about anyone else in the world, or whether they heard that or whether they thought it was good. I don't
We
care,
experienced
you
it in
know
this moment.
that was us, we did that and it was so good, there's some guys that I see intermittently at these different brigades, and every once in a while the stars will align. Well, I'll be at one, and so yeah, like that was just last weekend at the Indiana Harmony Brigade. We all happened to be there,
Okay.
and so we finally got to sing one at the end of the last night. Which, man, these events, I'm telling you, they do not end until 5 in the morning. You know,
Oh.
like literally, people do not go to sleep. You sing in a quartet. Finally, after 2 songs, maybe you stop, you go to the bathroom. Before you get back to that group, someone else stops you and says, let's sing something. You say, all right, well, it's only 2 a.m. What am I doing?
Yeah.
I'm just flying home in the morning, who cares? And so, yeah, but it was probably like 2 a.m. that I finally got to sing with three of the guys. I mean, there's a lot of really good guys, but three of the guys that I really wanted to sing with, um, and it was just like right at the start, just it was like, okay, this
Glad I
is this is
waited.
why
It
I'm
was
here.
worth the wait. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, and then, of course I only stayed up like 2 or 3 more hours after that, but after that moment, I was like, okay, I can go home happy. And then that, I will say that um working at the society has its ups and downs, because also that is such a big part of my life,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
that if if that goes poorly, a lot of my life, is tied up in that. Um, and so there are some really really stressful times that come with that. But then I get to go to these events in the weekend, and I get to sing with that quartet, and I get to just talk with people that I've known for years that I only see twice in a
At
year,
these
maybe,
events, yeah.
uh, and like you sing that chord and you just say that's why I'm here. That's it's all worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
So
going from the start of your journey, right, would have been high school, maybe even slightly earlier, but like I would say from what I know of you, I would imagine that a good majority of like the focus of this began in the high school choir classes when things like kicked off into a more focus of
yeah,
these things and we started doing barbershop classes and we started doing there were like the quartets that you were on and all of that, like getting higher up into the choir of school. um
right.
and now you've come so far where like I mean in that example and in that like world you only have, as you're learning that you only have like one group that fits your voice perfectly because there's 50 kids in total that are singers in the school. And so like as
Right.
you've moved through it, you're like, all right, me and these four people are like good singing together. And there's not really like I can't, my pool is so small. But your pool now is like opened up and like becomes so vast that there's just so many new people to sing with.
Yeah.
Do you find yourself like picking things up with like ways that you do things and like ways to improve based on these people that you're singing with, even if it's not like in a
Yeah.
judge based situation but more of like a self sort of analytical point of view?
Yeah, I think I mean, being in the chorus that I'm in, I am surrounded by some of the best teachers and some of the best in the craft. Um, I was not the reason that we won a gold medal. I was there, but that level of knowledge that I'm surrounded by, you know, very much I'm able to say, okay, I am so I sing lead in most quartets. Sometimes I sing tenor, and that's what I've been moving towards more recently. But I see things that I'm good at when it comes to singing lead, but also things that I struggle with.
Hmm.
And so definitely, like singing long high notes is not something that I'm good at, and I can see that. But um, I'm I am good at consonant sounds sometimes, the remembering to put the K in so that's just something, that I mean, I still have room to improve in that way, but uh that's something I'm good at.
Yeah, yeah.
But um no, I do think I think one thing that's great is being able to record yourself and look back, and be able to see those things as what you can improve on.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean just having a record of what you have done and being able to
right?
look back on it is huge to improving. I would like We've come so far. I mean, bi-weekly, 2 weeks. This is episode 14, so half a year now, 6 months. And I've listened, to every episode many times as I've edited them.
Yeah,
Um,
you learn a lot.
I've
You learn a
learned
lot like
so
that.
much about how I speak and how I want to speak and how I sit and where I'm positioned with my microphone. Sometimes I'm like doing well and I'm speaking well, but I'm like leaning back in my
Sure.
chair and now all of a sudden it sounds awful on the recording, and I've like just being able to do that and improve basically in sometimes incremental, sometimes it's just like I need my K's to be sharper, I need when I hit
Yeah.
this note for it to be 10% quieter. Sometimes it's
Sure.
huge, sometimes it's like I need to fully stretch out my shoulders or open up like my chest a little bit more in order to hit this, and like you can only see that when you're looking back on it and not when you're like living in the moment. You're like, why was that
Right.
off? I don't know. I can't really tell why that was off. Maybe I'll try again. But when you watch, you're like, that was why. That was why right there. I can point to why it
Yeah.
was off right now so fast.
Yeah. No, I think the biggest thing from watching myself and from hearing from coaches and stuff that that I finally learned, and know I still have a lot of room to improve on, but I think it's, you know, you don't even understand what you have to get better at, until someone points it out and you're like, I didn't even know that that was like a scale, that people could get better on.
Hmm.
But like vocal colors. So like, you know, I mean, it's hard to, I guess, talk about and not demonstrate, but whether you're singing like with a sort of a little air in your breath, where it's "I went ba-ba," versus something that's a lot more forward, like ba, 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 ba,
Yeah, yeah. Sounds
like
different. Yeah.
colors. There's different styles. You could sound like a trumpet. You could sound like another instrument. I don't know,
A
you know.
different
But
one.
but yeah, whether you're trying to sound like a smoky bar, like that sort of a singer, or whether you're trying to sound operatic, there's different colors that you can use
Hmm.
in order to achieve those different things. And I think like before I moved to Nashville, I didn't know that a palette existed, you know, and so like there's so many things that you can learn, and I'm definitely just on that path,
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, you've been engrossed in it for a number of years now. How long have you been in Nashville?
uh
4,
three
3 years?
three and a
Yeah,
half
I mean, you've just been engrossed in it since you moved there. You've been working
Yeah.
like not necessarily working crazy hours. You work 40 hours. You work a full-time job.
8 to 5
8 to
every
5,
day.
right. So you work a full-time job, but like the work goes beyond just like going in and clocking in 8 to 5, right? You're like you said earlier today, you weren't at work 8 to 5. You were working on your music and practicing that. And so you've
Yep.
been like engrossed in doing this full-time round the clock since moving there. I mean, yeah, we've talked often about how you're out and like rehearsing and practicing on your own in the car or in the basement, when you find the house to yourself or whatever that is. So it's just progress, right? Like just being there and being involved in it, even if you weren't singing as much as you are, you would still probably be improving along those lines because you're just surrounded by it. You hear it all the time. Your ear is more
Yeah.
tuned to it. You can now feel the differences of the resonances, right? Like ninth to seventh to fifth, those feelings and like what you're
Yeah.
looking for. If someone's like, hey, you need to hit
Absolutely.
the ninth here, it's like, I can do that because you've told me. That's easy. I can make that connection now.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. uh yeah, no, and I think also just, yeah, having that exposure, like I say, okay, now I know using color exists,
Hmm.
and then I'm like, okay, look at them, that's a cool color that they're using, oh, okay, wow,
Okay.
this other
Yeah.
quartet that I saw the next weekend has cool,
You
like
don't
so there's
need to
more
know all the
opportunities.
colors, but now knowing they exist is easy to like piggyback and say like that's a great
Yeah,
color that I could use in this way.
I think the biggest, I would say, not necessarily an epiphany, but the biggest change that I've had in the last, I think, 3 weeks was that so I procrastinated pretty hardcore.
Hmm.
I had the brigade coming up, and there was two songs that I hadn't learned yet.
Oh, good.
Uh,
Just at all.
right, at all,
Yeah.
at all. I'd maybe listened to them two or three times, and these songs are hard. They are hard songs. The goal is it's extreme quartetting. It's like you want to
Challenging
sing like
yourself.
international champion quartets. Uh, and so I hadn't learned two of the songs. I was freaking out.
Hmm.
Uh,
About to embarrass yourself when they
but
choose one
I
of those songs for you to sing. Yeah.
literally,
Yeah.
though, yeah, there's been brigades that I've gone where I'm like, yeah, we're flipping a coin,
I know
and
6. If they pick the 7th, I'm fucked.
it's more of I know it, but I could not make it through it because it's so challenging and my voice isn't good for that song. Where like if I draw that I am going to embarrass myself like so
Mm-hmm.
bad,
Mm-hmm.
and that's happened before, and that's
Okay.
you have to get past that, but I hadn't learned these two songs, uh, and I was, I was freaking out, but I realized that there are quartets that are, international champion quartets that'll have a member missing, you know, and they might have that the person might have just got sick. Someone might have a week to learn an entire 40-minute set,
So much work.
I would never,
That's so much work.
never want to do that, but it's how do they do that? How do they do that? Why can't I do that? Well, I've got a week to learn these two songs. I'm just going to
I'm
do
gonna
that.
do that.
Whatever they're doing, I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to say I am good enough to learn two songs in a week at a high level. I'm just going to tell myself that I'm like that. Um, and I learned two songs. They were probably the best two songs that I knew out of any of them that weekend.
Yeah.
Um, and and so now I think from that I'm like, okay, well, I'm just going to tell myself that I am that high level singer, and what would they do? I'm just going to do that. And now I've almost learned two more whole songs in a week.
Yeah, I think that based on just like experience. I think that I know I, I think that you're to that point where you know, you can hear those things a lot easier, and like it takes you less time to find those the like differences in where you need to be in a note and where you should be, because you like I think have probably heard it over and over again and so many times. I feel like while yes, it's always kind of a challenge waiting to the last minute and procrastinating. That's just a challenge. Life is a
Oh yeah.
challenge in that way. Um I think it is important to be able, if you are a procrastinator, I don't think that it's good to force yourself to not do that. I mean, because I've grown up my whole life procrastinating. So if I were to stop procrastinating now, I would fail at many things if I were to stop procrastinating fully, because that's how I do my work. Throughout college, it was
Mm.
always granted time restrictions wise. It was always the night before, but I was putting out banger assignments because that's just the way that I work. When I can see the finish line, I'm willing to work a lot harder to like cross it properly, then when someone's like 4 weeks away, I'm like, cool, I have 4 weeks to think about it. And then it's
Sure. Yeah.
tomorrow and you're like, oh no, all right, time to work.
Here we go.
Here we
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
go.
Here we go.
I feel like a lot of that time though, you're spent like prepping yourself for that hardcore like week. There's a little bit of sacrifice that goes into that, right? You had to work harder that week for sure than you would have had
Yeah.
to if you somehow rearrange your schedule to make time. But that's the thing, is
Sure.
like you
Probably.
sacrifice that week to do that, allowing you more time maybe to work with the other songs or to get the other things done so that you can do that week easily.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that
Well, and I
like
think
learning to
also
work with
like,
your
sorry, I've learned that I enjoyed it doing it, like I think the other ones I just kind of learned by playing in the car, but like actually having to sit down and look at the music that way, that's fun. It's
Mm.
fun, and so I've discovered a new
I mean, it's a lot more of an analytical approach to each of these specific
sure.
songs too, because you're not focused on driving, changing lanes, dealing with traffic. You're sitting there with the music
Sure.
and the song and it's just like all together. You get really engrossed in it. Is there anything sort of about this world of barbershop, finding these harmonies, maybe just this community that we've not talked about, that you've, been thinking about while thinking about this topic, that falls into our conversation here?
Yeah, I think that that's a good question. That's a good question. I think just I think we all judge our own voices too much, and I think that whether it's in the shower or whether it's in the car, I think that that singing is one of the best forms of personal expression, and that I think it's something that we can all find joy from, uh, whether it's with other people or whether it's, yeah, just with a weird solo track in a car that you hope no one can hear that you're singing super loud with as you're passing through town. Uh, I know that sounds very specific, but
Almost like it's true to life, but
but you're like, did I forget to put the windows up? Um, but I no, I think we pretty well covered it. Yeah, it's something that I would 100% recommend anyone try and experience, and to get out of their shell and to try that. And that, if you're ever in Nashville, you're welcome to come to a rehearsal. We would love to have you. Or if you ever want to just learn something, about singing or the history
history,
of
yeah.
music in general. Uh, I am always an open door. It just might take a little bit for me to get back to you, but um, yeah, I'm always open to share and invite people into that world.
Yeah. Fantastic. Well, I think that this is a great place, as any, to sort of wrap things up. But it has been fantastic picking your brain about this and diving on into sort of why you engross yourself in this world and what about it keeps you coming back time and time again. It was a really good conversation.
Yeah, no, I had a great time. I'm very grateful for getting the opportunity to be here.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so over the next week this will be edited, and Sunday it will come out. So I'll send you all the linkage, and if I make any clips, I'll send them to you for approval and whatnot. But yeah, it was lovely having you on. We're gonna do some close up stuff now, but I will reach out and talk to you a little bit later.
Cool. Thank you all so much.
Yeah, talk to you later.
Bye.
As for everyone else, I want to thank you all for coming on out and joining on this episode. It was absolutely lovely. It was absolutely lovely having my longtime friend Luke Davis on to pick his brain about what brings him joy and to dive into what parts of singing and parts of the barbershop harmony bring him the most joy. Just a lovely conversation. I think that he's right, folks. I think that anyone can find a joy in singing, even if that means that you have to be in, your car and alone and in a private place. No one's home and you're singing in the shower. I think that, that sense of freedom that sort of has to come with it to just belt out a song is a fantastic feeling, and something that there's not a lot of things I think in life that kind of bring that emotion out or bring some of those feelings out as music, and singing along with the song, it like really connects you to the story and maybe to your emotions and what you're feeling in this moment. It can really help you process things. It can, yeah, absolutely. And just singing in this kind of environment, what he's talking about when he's talking about this resonance is when you're in there, you can feel the notes pass through you. When there's three other people and you're all locked into a chord, you can feel the note pass through your bones, and there's like a vibration, and there's, I mean, as he described, there's not a lot of other ways to find that feeling in life. There are many other feelings, yes, and many other things that bring joy, but that one is not one that I've felt too many times outside of like that specific environment. And it is I don't know, just an altogether fantastic and sort of eye-opening feeling when you get into that harmony and that resonance for the first time. And like he said, it can inspire you to forge your sort of whole life around this, as he has done. But yes, so it was fantastic having Luke on. We want to definitely thank him for coming out, making time. Some other folks that we would like to thank, we want to thank Mayonnaise and Murda. While here on the live stream with us folks, we can't hear them. They are responsible for all of the music that we hear in the intro and the outro, as well as all of the transitions in between. Go check them out on SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you find your music. They are there. YouTube, bam, right there. Their information will be down in the description below, so go check them out. We've already thanked Luke for coming out, but I do, again, appreciate him for coming on out and joining on this episode of the podcast. Let's talk some dates, folks, for upcoming dates. This episode will be out next Sunday. That is Sunday, November 27th. Bam. This episode will be out Sunday, November 27th. If you want to join us for the next live recording, that'll be December 4th, Sunday, December 4th, here at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time here on YouTube is where we do the live recordings. So stop on by then if you want to join me and my next guest for what brings them joy. Feel free to always throw in the comments, folks, the chat while you're here. What brings you joy? What about this inspires joy in you? How you connect joys in your life to what you are hearing here, and maybe we can talk about it live on the show. The next episode, though, recorded, like we said, on December 4th, will come out December 11th, folks. That's pretty wild. If we think about this, folks, we have someone coming December 4th. And their episode is going to come out the 11th. The next guest after that is going to record on the 18th, and that episode will come out on Christmas Day. What is that about? That is friggin' wild, y'all. It's coming out on Christmas Day exactly. We might tune that episode to like things about this time of year that bring you joy. It might be holiday cheer. It might be our basic episode. Maybe we don't want it to like split up things in that manner. Maybe we want to just keep this flow going. We'll figure it out by December 18th. But for now, folks, we're going to call it to a close. I appreciate all of you coming on out and joining us on this, the 14th episode of the PureJoy Podcast with my guest and longtime friend, Luke Davis. We got to experience his joy with him, and I think it's time we call this to a close. Thanks for joining, folks, and we'll see you next time.